Hey, welcome to the Harry Man Show, episode 54. We have renowned indie drummer legend Tucker Rule. I'm pretty excited about this. Tucker has primarily been in the band called Thursday for about 22 years, I believe. He's in many other projects such as YellowCard, My Chemical Romance, and we'll talk more about what he's currently doing right now. How you doing, Tucker?
Good. How you doing, man? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I think we have some mutual friends, and like we were talking about the show, I'm just geeking out on your drummer plus drummer with Brendan there from Sakura.
Oh, what an honor it was to do that, man. And, what a nerve-wracking thing because you obviously want to do good by someone who's that iconic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you gotta give yourself credit too. And not to fanboy on you too fast here, but I remember watching there's a little music channel called Fuse, and I remember Thursday was in rotation probably about every 20 minutes on there. And I used to look at your setups with the big 26, and I'm like, that guy gets it.
Oh man, yeah, dude. I don't know, man. Once you play at 26, it's hard to go back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have a Vista kit that's hard to kind of break down. Once I put a 22,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm cheating with the 22 sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah, because I find the 26 to be very easy to play, but also you're right. When I get down to 22, it's like, wow, this is like super easy to play.
Yeah.
I mean, not that anything on the drums is easy, but it's easier to play.
And then you get used to that, and then going back to 26 is uphill hike after that again. So it's like a circle of a vicious circle, I would say.
I honestly still play my beater as high as I do on a 26 on the 22 because I'm too lazy to change it.
Oh. Well, at least you're honest. Your patches, you probably just have to change your patches here and there. But well, without further ado on that one, I know you've been with Thursday for about, is it 22 years now?
Probably about 22 years, yeah.
Okay. And I know you've been. I don't want to lose credit for what you've been. You've been bands such as The Wanted, My Chemical Romance, YellowCard, and you're currently doing. I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong. Frank Iero.
Frank Iero, yeah,
Iero.
yeah.
Okay, sorry. And that's is that an indie band or more of a rock band?
It's like a rock band, but it kind of covers the scope of a bunch of different genres. Frank's just a huge fan of music in general, so he kind of likes to write a bunch of different stuff. So it's a very fun band to be in.
Nice. So I kind of want to take it back. So you're a New Jersey native there. Is that how you started?
Yeah. I'm a New Jersey native. I lived in New York, like in the city, and I lived in Brooklyn for the past, 15 or 20 years. So my wife and I bought a house in New Jersey last year. So I'm a old New Jersey resident.
Congratulations.
Thanks. And I like it here. I like being in the Garden State, and also my band started in New Jersey. We started playing basements and VFW halls and such. And New Jersey had a really, really, really great scene of a lot of really great musicians. So I was very fortunate, and Thursday was very fortunate to be brought up with so many great bands, such as like the Bouncing Souls, Save the Day.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean the list goes on and on. Jersey was a pretty big hub. The tri-state area was a pretty big hub for music back in the day, like hardcore and punk and quote unquote the worst word in the world, emo.
I don't think I ever used that though. I really don't even know what that is still sometimes.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. Well, isn't all music emotional in some ways?
I mean that's what I always say. If it wasn't, well, who would listen to it? Because people feel so many things when they listen to it. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry,
yeah.
I just think it's funny.
Sad rock.
But so did it start? Did you have a school education kind of routine, or did you kind of just jump full into a drum set, punk rocked out?
Yeah, man. I grew up skateboarding, right? And skateboarding turned me on to a bunch of music. At a very early age, like a bunch of punk rock music and a bunch of underground hip hop music and stuff. So I got a really good education on what I thought, what skateboarding taught me was cool. I actually thought was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so I used to go to a lot of punk shows and hardcore shows, and I would always just watch the drummer and geek out on the drummer because you could just feel that energy. And hardcore and punk music is so cool because it's you don't feel like there's a band on the stage, it's like the whole crowd and everybody's all together doing the same thing, you know. So
yeah, it's
a very good sense of community.
It's a group activity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would watch the drummer, and when I was 18, I bought a drum kit off my buddy, and I just played every day for hours and hours a day, pretty much since, you know.
So
it's been an ongoing hobby and passion and job for the past 20 some odd years. So
nice.
I'm really grateful.
Do you remember the first kit or what dimensions it was at all?
Yeah, I had. So he sold me for $500 a Tama Rockstar DX, I believe. It was white.
Oh, nice.
And I believe the kick drum was a 16 by 22. Then the rack was, I believe, a 10 by 12. Mm-hmm. Then I had a 16 by 16 floor tom.
Nice.
And it was like a white wrap.
Nice. And I remember those, actually. I remember seeing those through catalogs. But in that time frame, was there any like mentor, like drum guys in the Jersey kind of area that was coming up as well that everyone kind of reach out to?
There were plenty of really good hardcore drummers, and that style is so specific. So there was a lot of drummers that I looked up to. One of them being, I think they called him Mullet, but he played in this band called Vision. And Vision was one of my favorite hardcore bands growing up. And he was just great. And then I got into like post-hardcore band called Quicksand, and they turned out to be my favorite band of all time. And the drummer Alan Cage, who is a very good friend of mine, it just blew me away listening to him play. And then Thursday was fortunate enough to tour with them a few years back, and getting to watch him and play with him on stage was just a really, full circle experience.
Now I have a little bit of a rock question. I know that was around the time that the double pedals were kind of being, getting bigger, commercialized. And were you really picky about being a single bass drum player there too, as well as single pedal player as well?
I really had no interest in the double pedal. Mm-hmm. I felt like, and there is definitely an application for a double pedal that I think is tasteful and awesome. And I wish I played little to more double pedal, because I don't play it at all.
Well, I mean that in a good way, because I want to give you props for being so clean with your doubles with your single foot. That's one thing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It stands out every time I watch you.
I appreciate it, but I do wish I got more into double pedal. But I feel like like a China cymbal, it can be very overused.
Yeah, I agree.
And the impact of, I find lately, like when I listen to music, that the impact of a crushing double pedal kind of is like bores me in a weird way. Yeah. But there are people like Thomas Haas that are just fucking amazing, and people that use it tastefully, I'm a big fan of. But for me personally, I don't find it fun, and I'm still trying to get good at single pedal. You know what I mean? And I feel like if I practiced more double pedal, I would lose chops on my single pedal.
And you're very good at balancing your linear fills off your bigger floor tom. So I think that really accommodates the way you play too.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate that. Yeah, I do work a lot on trying to emulate some of that stuff with a single pedal.
Mm-hmm. So I just remember that it being a snob thing when I was like in high school, that if you couldn't play with one pedal, you shouldn't be doing it. So I just kind of like had a whole memory lapse there a little bit. And we were listening to NoFX trying to do those slap sounds with one foot, and you just got to do it and you get better at it.
Absolutely. And that's another thing. Like, I was always a fan of drummers who were single pedal drummers. So I it was, the double pedal thing was it just didn't fall into my realm of things I was into, practicing.
Yeah. And trends come and go, just like, a stack somewhere right now is kind of the big thing. You just et cetera, and it just comes and goes,
Yeah. And it's all cool. You know what I mean? It's all cool. And I feel like, for any younger drummer out there, I think it's valuable to learn double kick. It's valuable to learn everything in drums. It's just something that I didn't do, and I wish I did. But I'm happy that I have at least what I have. You know what I mean?
No way, shit. I was putting it down because I have a double pedal myself on my kit now. I just remember that being kind of a cool teenager.
Yeah.
There. But I want to talk about how Thursday Joint were formed at that time. Was there a certain member that you started it with, or did it kind of all come together?
Well, so my buddy Tom, who we went to high school together, and we kind of started playing, just jamming together, like, when we were both 18, like towards the end of high school, beginning of college. He went to Rutgers. I stayed at a community college in Jersey, which was very close to one another anyway. Mm-hmm. But he met Jeff at Rutgers and brought Jeff to my house, and we jammed out a song which turned out to be called This Side of Brightness, which is on the first Thursday record.
Nice.
It was actually on a Thursday tape that we had made. So that's kind of how it started. And then, like, Tom asked our bass player, Tim, and then Jeff asked our bass player, Tim, to be in the band. And he didn't know that it was the same band that he was being asked to be in. So he said yes to one guy and no to another, but it was the same
band. That's pretty cool. So when you guys, were just playing a lot of basement gigs right out the bat, or was it more of just like kind of a local venue thing at first?
It was very much, we formed a band to basically play Jeff's basement. Jeff is the singer. He ran a basement. He lived in a house in New Brunswick, which is a big college town here in Jersey. And it was a hub for music at the time. He lived in a house that had this great basement, and he would put on shows, and he had all kinds of touring acts coming through, such as Hot Water Music.
Oh, wow.
At the Drive-In played there, Save the Day.
That's crazy.
and a whole bunch of hardcore bands. Yeah, it was like this epic thing. It was called 331 Somerset Street.
Huh.
And in the tri-state area, basement shows were a big thing back then. It was a huge scene.
Uh-huh.
You know, I mean, you could only fit 50 or 60 kids in there.
Huh.
But it was still like this thing, this thing that was like fire. You know what I mean? It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. You just get a bunch of like-minded people in a room, and it's like, it's just fun.
Now,
so we basically started a band. We basically formed a band to play in Jeff's basement.
Now, I imagine at that point you guys were getting kind of networking with bigger bands like that at the Drive-In and stuff. So did that help you when you guys started to branch out and do any kind of touring there?
I think it helped us out, later on. I think, it was one of those things where, mind you, this is like pre-cell phone.
Yeah.
Too. So it was all word of mouth and all, so like
Flyers.
People learned about music by flyers.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that, when bands would come through, Jeff would be like, oh yeah, like I have a band called Thursday, maybe someday we could play together. And I'm sure he planted the seed somehow.
Yeah. And just curious, how did that name come about for you guys?
Well, back in the day, there were a lot of bands that had these long, kind of drawn-out names.
Oh, you know us by the Trail of the Dead and stuff like that.
Yeah, which is a very cool name.
Yeah,
and all the. I don't know if you've started a new band recently, but like just thinking about starting a new band and naming it is impossible because all the cool names are taken.
Yeah, stressful.
Anything you come up, if you go through the dictionary and put together 6 different words, somebody's already got the name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we wanted something that was nondescript and didn't really pigeonhole us into one genre. So if you were hearing the name Thursday, you weren't thinking that it was an emo band or a punk rock band. It could be a hip hop group. It could be, just a regular rock and roll band. So that's kind of where the idea came from. Yes. And and everybody, Thursday happens every single week. So we wanted to be kind of on people's minds too.
Oh, nice and clean, right to the point too.
Yeah.
All right. So how long before you guys started kind of branching out and breaking out a little bit from that point on? Was it a couple of years or kind of right out of the bat?
Well, it was definitely a couple of years because we wrote our first record and we played a few of the basement shows, and a friend of ours named Gabe Saporta came to our first show, and he was in a band called Midtown, and Midtown was kind of doing bigger things at the time, and so he got us signed to an independent label called Eyeball Records, and then they printed our first record, which was great. And, some people around the New Jersey area picked it up, and it never really took off or anything. But then we decided to write another record, and that was called Full Collapse. And we were still just kids, just writing songs. So we had no idea that making a video because my guitar player, Steve, is very into cinematography, and he does stuff for HGTV and stuff nowadays, but he went to film school and such. Mm-hmm. So he had a bunch of friends that were like, "Oh, let's make a video for this song. It could be cool." And MTV2 picked it up.
Oh wow!
And then Fuse picked it up, and so it started growing then. And that was about 2002, 2003, where that song kind of started taking off.
And that's Crash, correct?
What's that?
Is that the song Crash you're mentioning?
Yeah, Understanding in a Car Crash. Yeah.
And I remember seeing that, like I said, watching on Fuse and MTV2 and go, wow, those guys are awesome.
Yeah, thanks, man. It was wild because we didn't think anything of it. We were just having fun playing music. We never thought like that it more people would see it out of New Jersey, and B, that we would ever be able to make a career out of it. You know?
Mm-hmm. And you guys probably got it right at the beginning when it wasn't so expensive to shoot a video like that. You know what I mean? When technology was just starting to kind of get enough to do it on your own.
I think we did it with Steve's friend for like $1,500.
Well, it's still a lot, but cheap at the same time. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And then most of that was the cameras. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, in today's standards, it probably costs about an iPhone to do it. But yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, no, seriously. Yeah.
So then, as that, how many records did you guys do total throughout your guys' career there?
I think we did six full lengths.
Nice. And you guys did a reunion tour back in 2019. Is that
I'm
correct?
pretty sure. Yeah, I think the number. Yeah, we did a 20-year anniversary because the band turned 20 in 2019. So, which was a big deal. You know what I mean? So we did our first two records, Full Collapse and One More Time. We did them front to back.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, we would do Full Collapse the first night, and then so we played each city, 2 nights in each city, which was awesome.
Oh,
so much fun.
Comfort sound check and just ready to go the next day.
Yeah, and the loaders and everybody that worked in the club loved us because they didn't have to work the first night. You know what I mean? Like once the show was over, they could just go home.
Yeah. So, was there any memorable tours that you kind of went on in that time frame, the 20 years?
Oh man, yeah, we did a lot of cool stuff, man. One of my favorite things that we ever did was this festival called Curiosa Festival, and it was The Cure, and Robert Smith handpicked each band that he wanted to come out to tour. So it was like us, Interpol, Mogwai, Muse, and Melissa Aftermar, The Rapture.
Nice.
Just a boatload of really, really cool, awesome bands, and like being able to watch The Cure every night, and like hang out with The Cure and like hang out with Robert Smith. It was just so much fun. It was just it couldn't be a better group of people.
That must have been surreal in itself too.
It was very surreal because like he looks like Robert Smith in the morning and at night. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's crazy. It just
you don't see Robert Smith looking not like Robert Smith. It's not a gig. You know what I mean? That's him.
Yeah. He's basically is that, and that's that.
Yeah.
So, as you guys did that, was there any kind of hiatus there going on in the last recent years? Or do you guys plan on going back out when everything starts to open up again?
Yeah, we when we kind of quote unquote slowed down or stopped back in 2011, we never didn't want to pick it up again. You know what I mean? There was just a point in time where we were working so much on the road that we couldn't work at home. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because some bands need to tour, but also people have normal jobs too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Music's hard. Music is not a gentle lover.
Yeah.
So we always planned to come back to it, and then we came back in 2016 and did a bunch of stuff, and that was fun. And as long as we're having fun, we're going to keep playing.
Nice.
And at the same time, as long as people want to hear the band and see the band live and keep asking for it, we'll go.
Yeah. So I kind of want to change gears on there. There's something called the Indie Drum Collective, and I know Aaron from Minus the Bear and yourself started it. How's that going with you guys?
Oh, it's so much fun. Yeah. It's so much fun. I never, this is Aaron's baby. He kind of asked me to be involved very early on. Mm-hmm. Myself and Chris Daly from Texas is the reason. And, I never wanted to play cover songs. You know what I mean? Like that was just not my thing, And I never, even when I grew up practicing, I never played along to any songs or played along to any records. Uh-huh. So this was like kind of a new thing for me, but I kind of fell in love with, trying to play, these songs exactly the way the drummer that played on the record played them. You know what I mean? I found that to be fun and a very like awesome exercise in, kind of songwriting for me from the drums. Like, why would this guy play this? Or, guy, girl, whoever it was playing the drums at the time.
Well, you nailed that Def Leppard cover. I think you did excellently well on that one.
Thanks, man. Yeah, that was a lot of fun too because there's a lot of electronics going on in there. So
well, the spacing, if it's not right in a song like that, it just kind of gets overplayed super fast. But you had it like perfectly dialed.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I spent a lot. When I do these covers, like I said, I spend a lot of time trying to get all the fills all the kick drum hits in the place where the drummer has them, and they're intended. I'm not trying to chop my way through these songs.
No, and that's why I have a lot of respect for your playing there.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, and then as far as it looks like you're playing in like a home studio. Is there certain mic techniques you use, or anything you would recommend checking out software wise?
So I'm very new to the recording game. I bought this house a year ago. It's my wife and I's first house, and the way she got me out of Brooklyn was like, hey, listen, we'll buy a house, and it will have a detached garage, and you can put a studio in there.
Uh-huh.
So we found that, and I built a room within a room. And when I first put the drums in there, I got this very awesome piece of machinery called the Yamaha EAD-10.
Oh, not to interrupt you, I actually ordered one today.
Oh, dude, it's great, man. It's awesome.
Uh-huh.
And it basically for those of you who don't know what it is, it clicks onto your kick drum hoop, and it's basically a single mic that picks up everything, and it's got this module that goes with it that you click your in-ears in or headphones to, and it gives you click track. It gives you all different sounds. So it's almost like having a V-drum kit connected to your actual acoustic drums.
Yeah, it's
and you can
badass.
Play along to songs and all kinds of stuff, and it just sounds amazing. So I had that, and I had so much fun with that. And then I kind of have been toying with the idea since we're in a pandemic, like I kind of want to learn how to record drums because I would, I'm going to need to make money somehow. So I would like to try to make a remote studio and play drums on people's records. So I bought myself a Universal Audio Apollo X8T, which is this insane
good stuff
piece of gear that has 8 mic pre's. So it's just, it's the most expensive thing I have in that room right now besides the drums.
That's top shelf interface there. That's a good stuff.
Yeah, so it's awesome. And I got Pro Tools, and I got a bunch of Warm Audio mics, which I really like this company, Warm Audio. It's like they do these really amazing remakes of all these old, iconic microphones.
Well, I'm in the same boat. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm in the same boat with you learning all that stuff right now. Is there any settings you recommend on the EAD-10 at all?
On the EAD-10, I really like compression.
Yeah, that's the one I was liking too.
Yeah, compression, and I liked oil drum as well. I thought that was an awesome sounding one for like a really nice tight sound.
Nice, yeah. So I recently had Timbo from Kino on. He's part of your indie drum collective. I recommend. Do you ever get a chance to chat with him at all?
Oh, dude, he's awesome.
He's hilarious.
That dude is awesome.
Yeah,
and he's a character. He's a sick drummer. He gets great sounds, and he's just fun to watch.
Yeah, that's why I brought him up, because his drum sounds are dialed in his basement there.
Oh, dude, that dude is like on it.
Yeah. So while we're speaking of gear, you've been with Q Drums for about how long now?
Probably pushing about I think maybe 14. Since 2014, so a bunch of years. I really love their drums, and I love them as people.
And the thing is, that's one of those drum companies that don't get nearly as much credit as they deserve. You don't really appreciate it until you actually sit behind one and you're like, whoa.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
And they have sort of a cult following, you know what I mean? They're really well-made drums by amazing people, and I get it. Like, a lot of people like to play the DWs and the Gretsch and the Ludwigs, and all of those are awesome drums. I mean, all drums are awesome.
Yeah.
It's just, I find that smaller kind of boutique companies, are where I like to live. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they're based out of LA, right?
Yeah, they're based out of LA, and they just make amazing drums. They look cool, and they stick to like what works. Mm-hmm. Nothing is crazy. It's just like they make really well-made drums. And I really love the steel drums that they make. They make these copper drums that are so rad. I mean, they're just so good at what they do.
Now, are you still playing the mahogany and poplar combination?
I am. That's what I primarily play in my drum studio right now. But I have a copper kit that I absolutely love.
Mm-hmm. Is that the one with all the artwork on it? It looks really rad.
Yeah, it's got like a patina, like a damask patina on it. I love that kit. That's my pride and joy.
Yeah, that's a beautiful kit.
Thanks, man.
And one other question with your setup.
Yeah.
I noticed you play with the jazz kind of style tilted snare. Was that something you just grew to like over time, or was kind of pushed on you at the beginning?
I got tired of hitting my pant leg and bruising my thigh when I was younger.
Uh-huh.
And I saw a bunch of drummers that I liked kind of playing flat. And then I kind of like started to somehow grow into the tilted. But now I've got it more towards flat, even like slightly angled back towards me.
Yeah, I think it's a cool
Because
look.
thanks, man. I took a bunch of lessons well, not a bunch. I took one lesson in my life ever, and that was with Dave Elich.
Oh,
and
yeah, he's a master.
And he's a master. And he's the absolute oracle. And he just, when you're talking to him and when you're watching him play, it's like, man, why am I fighting with gravity here? Like this is I don't have to work this hard.
Yeah, and then you're a Zildjian artist the whole time too. How long have you been playing Zildjian?
Man, I've been playing Zildjian for maybe 16 years, and that company is just the best.
Yeah, and you kind of inspired me back in my high school days to actually start using those really big crashes. So I would use my 2 extra ride cymbals, or I think they were like a ZWT ride and a mirror ride, if you remember those. But I would use those and actually use those as crashes, with my garage bands and stuff.
Dude, I find that the bigger cymbals, like when you're getting into the rides, like they feel better, and they feel softer to hit, especially if you get a nice thin one like a K light ride. Those are my favorites.
Yeah, I'm playing the K series myself right now.
Yeah, they're amazing because they're really washy and they're soft. It feels, especially, I mean, I'm 42 years old, and I've never really had, knock on wood, any wrist problems or any carpal tunnel or anything like that. And I want to keep it that way. And I find that smaller cymbals can be really abrasive.
Yeah.
To play when you kind of catch it on the wrong angle, you know what I mean? And so I like the warbly, washy, soft feel of a large cymbal.
Now on these Q setups, are you still currently playing a 26 on those as well?
I am 26 by 14, yeah. But now that I have the studio set up, I've got an old AOT kit that I have a 22 kick that I'm planning to get and move in and out of there, because you want different sounds in the studio. You know
absolutely,
what I mean? So,
yeah.
And sometimes I like, because the kick, the 26-inch kick, if you're not careful, it can kind of sound like a basketball.
Yeah,
the
heads are expensive.
and yeah, absolutely. And then faster songs, when you're playing a 26 on like a more of a punk rock song, sometimes that you're doing like a double kick.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can miss that double because it's such a big throw. You know what I mean? So.
And I know I had Jeremy on the show too from Lowboys. You're currently playing with Lowboy as well too, right?
Yeah. Those I love as well. They complement my playing. I've always wanted a wood beater, but I've never found one that actually felt good to me. And that one it's got the right weight, and it just, every hit I feel is solid, and they're nice people.
Yeah, Jeremy's a great guy. So I didn't.
Yeah, nice people go a long way with me.
Yeah, I'm getting that vibe there. But
yeah.
And so I want to talk about some of the other gigs you played too. You also played in YellowCard and My Chemical Romance. How did those gigs come about for you? Was that part of your networking process, or just kind of fell in your lap?
So the My Chemical Romance thing, we grew up with those dudes basically.
Nice.
My singer produced their first record. Obviously, I play in a band with Frank now. But so we've known them forever, and so there was a point in time, and Thursday has toured with them before. There was a certain time where their drummer at the time, Bob Breyer, he had like terrible tendonitis in his hand that he actually had to get surgery on. So last minute, they called me to fly out to Australia to do a month of touring with them, which I think was only 10 shows, but with travel, it was like a lot of travel and a few days off here and there. But 2008, I did a Pacific Rim tour, so it was like Australia, Malaysia, Singapore, Hawaii. And that was an amazing experience because, not only do I love the people in the band, but I think, they were the biggest band in the world.
Yeah, they were.
And I was lucky enough to borrow that drum seat for a month.
Was it at the time when they were doing the Black Parade stuff?
It was right after Black Parade.
Oh, cool. So that's probably the prime spot.
They weren't doing the Black Parade outfits. And they weren't doing the record front to back. It was just kind of like a mix of all their songs.
Nice. And was that before or after YellowCard?
that was before YellowCard. So then the YellowCard came in about two. So I did the Wanted, which was a boy band after that for 4 years.
Yeah.
Which was a lot of fun.
And then, sorry to interrupt you again, but did you tour with them internationally, or was it just in the States?
We did, yeah. We did all over the world with those dudes.
Because they had a couple of huge hits, so you don't even realize it's them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they have massive hits, and it was so much fun to do that. It was also fun to just be, not in a band. We were the backing band.
Yeah.
It was all about the singers, and it was cool to just kind of show up and work in music. Like show up, do your job, do it well, and then you're off.
Now, a gig like that, was there a lot of electronics and backing tracks you kind of had to work with or something like that?
Yeah, there was the whole show was mapped out.
Uh-huh.
But a lot of the backing tracks were sounds. It wasn't necessarily vocals because, believe it or not, those dudes actually can sing and did sing all those shows,
Nice.
So to the credit, people can actually sing. You don't really.
No, when I say backing tracks, I mean like experimental instruments and weird,
absolutely,
weird sounds.
No,
not like that, not vocal loops or anything like that.
Oh no, I know. I'm just saying, like, it was a lot of click track, a lot of accompanying instruments.
Nice.
And so then that they kind of broke up in 2014, I'd say, or 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were all bummed, of course. But then I was, I forget where I was, but my friend Arun called me, who plays in this band called Save the Day, and he was like, "Hey, are you looking for a gig right now?" Or I heard the Wanted broke up. I'm like, "Actually, I am."
Nice.
He's like, "Well, YellowCard's looking. You want me to throw your name in the hat?" And I was like, "Sure." And I did Warped Tour with the YellowCard dudes. I knew Ryan.
Yeah.
And Sean Mackin for a while, and so Ryan Key called me and he was like, "Hey, would you be down to come out and try out?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I flew to LA and I tried out, and I guess a bunch of people tried out, and I happened to get the gig.
Well, that kind of fits your style pretty well too,
I think so. Yeah, I mean, they had a bunch of fast stuff which I wasn't really used to playing, but like anything, you got to kind of be a chameleon, and it's always fun to play other people's music.
Yeah. Now, for an upcoming drummer, what would be your best advice for networking?
For networking, I mean, I
just be a nice guy.
Just be cool, be nice, and you never know who you're talking to. You know what I mean?
You never know who's watching either.
Yeah, even if it's like a fan or somebody who who comes up and is talking to you, it's like, could be Tosh the drummer. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
a young kid, and then he's Tosh the drummer. He just turned 21, and now he's playing. He's doing a filling gig with Machine Gun Kelly.
Yeah, pretty awesome.
So you never know who. So be nice to everybody, because one of these kids is going to be the next something or other. So
yeah. And I wanted to talk about are you currently still giving lessons too, remote lessons?
I mean, no, but I'm not against it. It's just I
apologize for bringing it up. Sorry.
No. It's a great question, because I find that there are a lot of people out there that are very good at giving lessons. You know what I mean? I feel like when you take a lesson with Dave Elitch, you're getting like an absolute, crash course on everything.
Yeah.
Body mechanics, the whole gamut of stuff, and so for me, it's like my only advice if I was giving lessons is like, hey, this is how I go about playing drums. This is what I know about playing drums, and this is what I know about touring.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the kind of thing people are interested in, like I'm down to tell them. But when it comes to like perfect form and stuff like that, like I'm not your guy.
For what it's worth, I think you should be giving lessons as a compliment.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and
I appreciate that.
And if that's the case, what would be the best place to reach out and inquire about something like that?
You can shoot me a DM on Instagram, or there's an email in my Instagram bio that you can click on and shoot me an email if you'd like.
All right, cool. And you also had a drum sample pack. What would be a good place to check that out as well?
To be honest with you, I don't even know where that is. I think it's at
I'm just striking out here. Sorry, man.
No, you're doing great. No, the best questions are the people that are the questions that I don't know the answers to. No, that's at drumsamples.com.
Nice. Yeah, and I was listening to some of those sounds. They sound really good as well.
Thanks, man. Yeah, that was my friend John Nocliero. He runs a studio called Nada Studios. He hit me up out of the blue one day and was like, "Hey, trying to put together some sample packs with some drummers. Would you be down to take a bunch of your gear to the studio?" And I was like, "Sure."
Yeah. So before I let you go there, Tucker, what's in the store? What's in the plans after this whole thing all clears out in the future here?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I would like to get back on the road.
Mm-hmm.
I've been enjoying time at home with my daughter, but it's giving me time to, like we talked about before, learn how to record. So I think in the future for me, I would like to spend a little more time home doing some remote recording and playing on people's records and playing on people's songs, because I'm finding that to be very rewarding and very much fun. I just did a record with Jim Ward,
nice,
which I'm really proud of because it was completely remote. We never got in a room together once because he lives in El Paso, and then Ben Kenny, who plays in Incubus.
Oh, no way.
He lives in LA.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's the best dude, and he's a
awesome
phenomenal musician.
Yeah.
A great drummer, dude. And then he's one of those dudes who's like handsome, he's nice, he's super talented, and he can play everything. It's like not fair.
That song Eulogy you did, I still listen to that song all the time.
Yeah, dude, great. He's fucking great.
Yeah, he's awesome.
So Jim sent out a bunch of songs, and we kind of put it together and made a record. So that comes out, I believe, in June. So I kind of want to do more stuff like that. Like I really found joy and in putting drums to music.
And
to people that send me songs. Yeah, it's so much fun, and I like hearing because as you know, as a person who's learning how to record,
mm-hmm.
You spend a lot of time with your nose in YouTube and stuff like that. Like looking up stuff, reading things. So it's rewarding when it comes to fruition.
Oh, that's a lot cool because you got friends you call up, and then you start to kind of grill you down. You're like, "Oh my god, I'm not even close."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Panning.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. What is that? Frying panning?
Yeah, that's a joke to myself. But yeah, there's a couple of rude awakenings because I used to just go to the studio and the guy took care of it. That was that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but when you're in your drum dojo, I guess you could call it. You're left to your own druthers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not your job. But now I think everyone should be well equipped on all sides of it, just like you were saying.
I think so, man. I think it's important. And I think it also helps in songwriting from the drum standpoint when you're challenged to take a songwriter song and send it back and kind of surprise them with because they didn't know it had this potential. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Tucker, it's been a real honor. Like I said, I've been watching you since I was a very young age. I really appreciate you coming on the show, and hopefully when everything gets back in order, we can have you on for another episode here as well.
I would love to. It's my pleasure. Thank you for asking me. I really appreciate it.
And once again, if you're interested in taking lessons with Tucker, check out his Instagram, email, and his drum sample pack that I highly recommend checking out, and the Thursday catalog. So thanks a lot, Tucker.
Thank you for having me, my friend.
All right, good night.